I was 16. Finally, our last poet is Julia Lee, and no, I know what I'm doing.
Okay.
I got it covered. Our last, what do we call it? Sponsored poet here is Julia Lee, and she's a senior in high school, and she is planning to go on and study a double major of poetry and engineering.
Wow.
Hello. This, my first poem, I finished it today, so I'm pretty proud of it though. I think it's not too rough. Lacquer is my favorite L word next to linoleum. Lacquer is round, then crisp in the mouth, but linoleum is full. Linoleum is deep. Linoleum creates caverns between the cheeks. And when reaching the cabinet stillment performing acrobatics, I would lie on the linoleum. I would press my cheek into the sun it captured. I would glaze my eyes over its stains, over the grime that would never wash out of its dimples. The sun had an affinity for our linoleum. It liked its creeping vines, its swirling lines, crept appreciatively through the flower's spines and added kindly to its yellow glow. It smoothed the flow of its diamonds. I was in agreement with the sun, esteeming the way it weaned itself of parallelism, rearing up from the weather stripping of the porch door. The sun and I melted into the linoleum there. I stuck my feet to the linoleum there, was noticed by window glints, absorbed the strength and warmth of fresh bread through my fingertips, was kept placid by a need only for the present. Our kitchen floor was infallible. I braced my back against it, unable to grasp how readily it could give way. I stood ungratefully on our linoleum and ventured into the world with no trepidation, was stubborn, hard-headed enough to run into walls, to scale them instead of heading round. I had infinite breath. I caught it at the oddest of interludes, swimming round the shower drain, the smell of a wood stove. In the corners of kingdom come and daily bread, I knew how to be light, to dump burdens like buckets of water, to run like I saw no tomorrows and feel like there always would be one. I scampered over our linoleum with gravel-eaten shoes. The days chased each other as I learned to trust my own 2 feet. As I honed a tongue braver than flint, I learned to take injustice by the trachea, to fear the sound of the clock at night. Patiently, I braided my hair with bloodless arms. Flying colors like Swiss chard, I sewed and paid for the future, with an urgency I couldn't yet understand, and at some point took every one of the things I had for granted. I made 10,000 mistakes. Managed to learn from 10. I'd lost the ground at the pace I'd run. Coughing like my lungs had filled with petroleum, I went back to the linoleum. I went back to brace my back on the linoleum and found that I had already fallen through. In the fear of falling, forgot everything that I knew. I fell through the linoleum, beating without a drum, feeling outrun, my breath caught at my smallness. Distressed, I digressed with effortless unreasonableness, anchorless. I call this drowning in 3 feet of water. I caught my breath at my affinity for smallness, struck my flint tongue, recalled each surmounted wall. I kissed my trusty feet, braided the blood back into my brain. How can I fall while I still have wings? I run like Achilles. My passion keeps me running faster than a couple hundred bees. I'm chasing expertise. Building up doesn't mean losing your foundation. I'm gonna love. I'm gonna live with an unlaced corset. I can still love the linoleum the way the sun did. For the way it fades with ease in the light. For the way it yields with such grace to time. I have 2, I can't remember remember which one I was going to do first. But, okay. I turned myself inside out, and all my socks came spilling out. All of the long lost ones who were lost again, their pairs having long ago been thrown out. A cellular bottle cap is quite a thing. And all of my coughs and yells came echoing. All of my thoughts came crocheted and splayed, ugly and frayed, with knots and stains and big-bellied laughs kicking into their woolen lines. I undid my rib cage and cleaned it like a dirty net. I washed out everything except my heart, which I should have washed, but I did not. Due to my peculiar and preferably short-lived attachment to its grime, then I washed my face, and I left my clothes on the ground, strewing my bra like a flayed bird, and stayed that way, soul naked, throughout the day, which maybe was an ill-conceived idea. For naked souls are easily offended by clothed ones, so my offended soul laid siege to my fingers with teeth, until my spirit put a stop to all this, and we sat, bloody-fingered and naked, and laced up our shoes again, promising to be more careful about when we took our clothes off. This is about insomnia. Once. I know there was once a time when I was good at sleep. Once also a time when I wasn't so desperate to keep all of my thoughts. When holding my own hands wasn't labeled so securely as a comfort. I am not alone. Not any more solitary than a rosary bead, but I pass my fingers over my own contour so obsessively you'd think I was the only bead on my necklace. My cat dreams, whines in her sleep, and it seems to me that there is not a bit of difference between her and I, both consigned with certainty to only two things, to dream and to die. Her end of the deal seems nicer, though, since she has so much less to decide in between. I once knew how to prioritize without regret. But that was before I had too many used neurons to further avoid compartmentalization. That was before I hoarded every useless thing I could catch in them. Before I knew in the silence of the night they had space only to preserve two of my thoughts. One, I share a fate with my cat. Two, that if I could wish the universe made of anything, I would wish it held together by lost thoughts. If they could be the particles which functioned as impediments making starlight glitter, then I might not have to regret losing them. Then I might be able to revert back to a time when I was good at sleep. And finally, I read this at Mountain Fair. I'll see if I can have it still memorized. I eat spicy candy. I get made fun of for being pink, for turning red faster than a stove burner in Nana's kitchen. I am a gringa. Because I can't say Esperanza or Pertenencia correctly, because I'm afraid to shake my hips. And my parents come with specified job descriptions, because all of my hair fits in $1 store clip, because red will never be my color, and I am not supposed to talk about what I have always had. What have I had? If you are arguing rice and beans eaten with my little muddy hands till I hated them, a family with more loving cousins and aunts and uncles than my small mind could sort onto fingers, a mother who made her own bread, and sang her own songs, and roused us on Saturday mornings and summer Sundays with polenta frying and trumpet music blaring from a black radio my uncle gave us, you would be right. Right. That my father looked handsome on ladders, and squeegees and blue rags brought out his strong shoulders and bright eyes. Right. That Windex rags and vacuums glide easily in my hands, and I am proud of my mother, who curls her hair each day to walk into a classroom full of fourth grade eyes she worked so hard to earn. I know the feelings of handmade quilts, and that beer is both culture and toxicity, maybe more the latter at once, and I know the word gringa. And around 3 of the Spanish curse words my stepfather learned in construction, and how to count to 100, translate library business, and make a new friend under the pretext of boy gossip, and I know enough to know I know nothing. And if these words I wasn't born with, these seas of beauty I am swimming in every day, of language that sounds like beautifully tied silk, like dancing and guitars and tongues rolling off of concrete sunbeams and night skies, a language that, while being all that, can still sit like rocks in my stomach. As girls with beautiful black hair let it slip easily off their tongues as I'm told what those boys really said. If these seas of birthright syllables are never meant to fit quite right on my stiff tongue, then maybe that is how it will have to be. But let it not mean that eating chicken dumplings from my grandmother's wrinkled Indian hands instead of enchiladas is reason to condemn me. I wish this world didn't make it mean that the girl in 3rd grade who had to learn 2 languages at once with PAIC special needs and never recovered from the gap in understanding she had with her mentors, even after she understood everything they were saying. That the boy in high school English class acted belligerent not the minute that he walked in, but the minute that he realized the teacher thought she already knew who he was. That sometimes our cafeteria is unconsciously ordered as perfectly as assorted chocolates. I wish I didn't have to proclaim my disgust. In every politician, in every gesture, no matter how unconscious that pits us against each other, I know that our colors mix as sweetly as black coffee and golden honey. I know a girl with strawberry blonde hair who dances folklorico. I know little boys and little girls who want to grow up to be lawyers and policemen, who want to make their parents proud. And this July, I followed the lines of the skate park into the hillside. I climbed past juniper into hayfields, overlooked from here a landscape thoroughly stitched with our streets, fractaled with our sidewalks,